Welcome to the North Dakota One Call presentation. This presentation is going to cover things like what North Dakota One Call is, some basics and specifics of the One Call system here in North Dakota, and information on how to file your locate requests online. To start things out, what is the purpose of North Dakota One Call? The system is put in place to prevent damages to underground facilities, help keep excavators safe, and ensure the safety of the general public. This is all done through the use of a statewide notification system that is made mandatory by North Dakota Century Code. At its core, North Dakota One Call is an organization that makes sure a notification system is in place that informs all facility owners of intended excavation. The organization is overseen by a group of 9 unpaid board members. They represent each underground industry, including excavators, make sure a call center is in place to handle the excavation requests, promote safe digging through different forms of media, and provide different training and educational opportunities. Some things we don't do is we don't enforce the law. We don't go around the state and make sure all excavators have a locate request when performing excavation. We also don't make sure all the utilities are getting their locate requests done in time. We don't draft legislation. We don't make the law. We don't change the law. That is not something North Dakota One Call does. We also don't define the specifics of how excavation is performed, meaning that if you're working for a pipeline company or a utility company, they might have different requirements for you as an excavator. The One Call law is a good place to start to get a basics of how to perform your excavation to stay safe. Anything above and beyond might be required of you for the company you are working for. Here are some One Call basics in North Dakota. If you're an excavator, you need to call or click, which is go online and file your locate request, at least 2 full days before you perform your excavation. All facilities must be located within 2 feet on either side of the marks that are placed by the facility owners. There are some exclusions for water companies. Any water facility installed prior to August 1st, 2013, they have to give you their best guess of where that underground facility is to convey water. Each excavator must have their own locate request. You cannot piggyback on a general contractor's ticket. If you do not have a locate request with your company's name on it, you are not covered by any locate request. Each excavator must have their own locate request. When you file your locate request, your ticket is good for 21 calendar days, including weekends and holidays, from the work to begin date that is listed on your ticket. And the last one, each excavator must remove the flags when their excavation is complete. Once your project is completely finished, we do ask, and it is in the law, that you remove any flags or debris from your excavation project. Some specifics of the One Call system. You can actually start your excavation early or prior to the end of the locate period. In North Dakota, back in 2017, positive response did become mandatory here in North Dakota. If all of the underground facility operators that are listed on your ticket provide a status or a response for your locate request, you can start your excavation early once you have received a status from every facility owner. As I mentioned on the previous slide, piggybacking is not allowed. Just jumping onto a general contractor's ticket and digging off of that will not cover you as an excavator. Piggybacking is not allowed in North Dakota. Operators or underground facility owners must keep their underground facilities updated in the One Call database at all times. If anything new goes into the ground, we need to know about it as the One Call notification center. A locate request is required at any depth. We get this question a lot. I'm only putting in a ground rod, or I'm only going down 6 inches. Do I need a locate request? The law has a definition of a locate request as disturbing or moving any earth, rock, or other material in or below the ground at any depth. No matter what you're doing, if you are disturbing the earth, rock, or other material in or below the ground, a locate request is required. How the notification system works. Each excavator files a locate request either by calling the center or filing that locate request online. The call center then uses that information to find out which underground utilities are in that general excavation area. Those utilities are then required by law to respond back within 2 full business days and are required to provide positive response back to the excavator. So before you call the center, some things that you should have in place. White lining or site identification is required as of August of 2017. We'll get into this a little deeper on the next slide. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are required to physically white line for that area, but it does make some sort of site identification required before you call in your locate request. Do consider your marking instructions. So if you do call the one call center, think of what you're going to tell them before you call as far as the description, the roads, the county that you might be working in. If you have a large or very complex project, you can request a meet in North Dakota. That's going to ask the utility companies to meet you at a date and time that you designate to go over any large or complex projects. Site identification, or white lining, which is what it's referred to sometimes on the ticket, is something that is required as of August 1st of 2017. What this means for you as an excavator is that you are needed to provide a little more information other than just a description for your excavation project. But there are options other than physically marking out that site. The options are white marking or project staking, so physically marking out or pre-marking where your excavation is going to take place. The next two, detailed drawing or map. With a detailed drawing or map, you can add that right through the online ticket submission process that will show the utilities on a map or detailed drawing where your excavation is taking place. Digital white lining and GIS shapefile are a way that you're going to be able to satisfy the site identification requirements in a future version of the One Call website. And then other arrangements made between the parties on the ticket is something that you can choose if you've made arrangements with the utility companies that are listed on your ticket and is different from one of the options above. There are some exclusions to the site identification requirement. If you are working at a single street address and have a precise description for that single address, you are not required to provide white lining or site identification. If you are performing an emergency or a meet locate request, you are also not required to provide site identification. After the locate, when the excavator is ready to start their project, the locators have all been out there, marked the site, or you've received positive response back from all of those underground utility owners. When you get out there, review that site. Make sure that all utilities have either provided marks or provided you a positive response. If you know that a gas company was notified on the ticket, but you don't see any yellow marks out there, or you have no response from the gas company, don't start your excavation right away. Get a hold of either the call center or that underground utility holder or that underground facility holder that's listed on the ticket. Verify all of those marks are visible and that you understand them all. If you have any questions about marks, get a hold of the facility owner and get clarification on what they marked. This graphic can be found online on the North Dakota One Call website. It is the color code that is a general color code for everything used nationwide. So if you go anywhere, red is going to mean electric, yellow is gas or oil or pipeline, orange is communication, and so on. You can find this in the North Dakota One Call handbook and online on the North Dakota One Call website. Where those underground utilities put the paint and the flags can determine your tolerance zone. With the tolerance zone in North Dakota, it is a 24-inch on either side of a marked facility hand dig zone, meaning that no mechanical excavation can take place within 24 inches on either side of that marked underground facility. So a 4-foot wide area. Again, I talked a little bit about the specifics of North Dakota One Call, how we don't define the specifics of excavation. We give you a basic understanding and lay out how to dig safely. This is one of those areas. Some pipeline companies in North Dakota, as for an example, do require more of a hand dig zone than the minimum 21 inches. No mechanical excavating within 24 inches. Some might be 5 feet on either side of a marked underground facility, or 10 feet from an underground facility. Depending on who you're working for or who you're crossing for an underground facility, they might have some larger tolerance zones than 24 inches on either side of the marked facility. When your excavation is complete, some things we ask is to dispose of any garbage, restore that excavation site, and one that's a little tougher than just an ask is remove the flags. It's not necessarily tough to do, but it is a problem that we have here in North Dakota with homeowners and farmers having flags that are left on their properties for months after the excavation is complete. The law does say it is the responsibility of the excavator when the excavation is complete, and those of you that are not doing it can be held accountable by the North Dakota Public Service Commission, who is the enforcement agency in North Dakota. Some different request types in North Dakota. So a routine ticket is your standard locate request. A RESPOT ticket does ask for the utilities to come out and refresh their marks, or it does extend your work time. You have 21 days that a ticket is open from when you call it in or from your work to begin date. If you are working past the 21 days, you're going to want to file a RESPOT locate request to extend that work time past the 21 days. A modify ticket is used to change any information on the original ticket. So if I have on a ticket that I need a 10-foot radius, but I need it changed to a 100-foot radius, I would use the modify ticket option. A survey locate request is a non-dig or non-excavation request typically filed by engineering companies when survey marks are needed or survey mapping information is needed. A meet request is going to request a meet between the parties on the ticket, so the excavator and any utilities listed. And an emergency locate request should only be used in emergency situations. We get questions on this a lot, so we'll cover it in detail on one of the next slides. First, the RESPOT request, again, is used to refresh marks at your site. It does extend your work for more than 21 days. It can refresh it for another 21 days. Can be abused if the marks are used excessively. So if you call in multiple RESPOT requests and you're not protecting the marks, it is a fileable complaint. It typically has to come from the utility. If it's something where the marks keep getting wiped out, have that discussion with the underground facility holders, and it's typically not a problem. This was something that changed back in 2013. Your first two RESPOTs, or your first two tickets, your RESPOT and your original ticket, are essentially free if no work has been done. But if you call in a third locate request where no work was done, the initial two tickets, the utilities can then charge you to come out there and mark those underground facilities. I mentioned the survey locate request. That is something new that was added in 2017. What this does, instead of giving the utilities 2 days to mark their underground facilities, they now, with a survey request, have 5 full days to either locate or share information. Their options are they can physically locate for that survey request, they can share mapping information with the excavator or with the survey company, or they can meet with the ticket holder. That ticket holder, that survey company, is responsible for maintaining and removing the marks. The ticket holder is also responsible for any costs associated with needing respots for that survey locate request. So if the utility does come out there and mark their underground facilities, if the survey company needs them to come back out and remark, they can or will have to pay for that to the utility. Ticket size rules apply. There was a change in ticket size in North Dakota, which we'll talk about on one of the next slides. That does apply whether it's an actual excavation request or a survey locate request. Emergency locate request. In front of you is the definition taken out of the one call law of what an emergency excavation is, or what it's defined as. We get this question a lot at the one call center or even from utilities. Why did I receive an emergency locate request for somebody that is installing a fence tomorrow? The one call center is required to process a locate request as an emergency if the caller agrees to the terms laid out in front of you of an emergency locate request. Now, on the other side of things, we get questions from excavators. I call in an emergency locate request. How soon do the utilities have to respond? The utilities have to respond, and quoted in this piece in front of you, the utilities have to respond as soon as practical. We ask, North Dakota One Call asks the utilities to respond within 2 hours, but the law does say as soon as practical. Some changes in 2017 that we had. A few of them we've talked about already. Most of them are wording changes. We've talked about the ones that are larger, the site identification, the survey locate request. We will talk about size of a ticket, window for locates, and a little more about positive response. These can all be found on the North Dakota One Call website or in the North Dakota One Call handbook. But as I mentioned, some of these were just language changes to the law to clean up the law a little bit. With positive response, this requires all utilities to notify the one call center when their locates are done. They have to provide that status for the locate request back to the one call center, which is then added to the excavator's ticket. That lets the excavator know what that utility status is before they even go out on that project. We do have 4 statuses currently to choose from in North Dakota. Clear, no conflict. Marked, not complete, in progress. Locator spoken to excavator and made arrangements. And the last one, no locate, spoke to excavator, excavation complete. Now, what does positive response look like on the ticket? For the utility, if they use the in-state positive response system, they will get a page that looks similar to this, where they can go in, they can assign locators, they can add public and private attachments, but the main thing is they can add a status and add comments to that status if they wish. Once they've statused a ticket, it'll show up on the excavator's ticket like this. You can see here, not complete, in progress. The second one there shows marked, and then has notes on there that if somebody's digging close to a Continental Resource pipeline, please contact this name at this number prior to the excavation. So again, that does let the excavator, you as the excavator, know what each status is of all the utilities listed on the ticket. We also keep track of that information from the call center standpoint. We can tell you at what date and what time a ticket was statused. Once it is status, it is locked, so they can't go in there and change it or change their answer. So we do keep that information if it ever is needed for an excavator. Now, there are 4 codes in North Dakota. We did change something with code 3 here in North Dakota. Locators spoken to excavator and made other arrangements. Recently, March 2nd of 2020, we've added a spot where the utility will have to add a little more information to the ticket if selecting that status. They will have to list the name of the excavator they contacted, the date and time they contacted that excavator, the agreed to date and time the marking will be completed, contact info of the excavator contacted, and then contact info of the issuing locator. Window for locates. So how much time does the utility have to mark their underground facilities? Previously, it was 48 hours from when I placed my locate request. If I place my locate request at 9 a.m. this morning, I have until 9 a.m. 2 days from now, excluding weekends and holidays, to get that locating done. However, that has changed. The new law, how it's worded in the new law, is that you still have 48 hours, but your 48-hour window starts the day after the ticket was filed. So at 12:01 a.m. the following day is when your 48 hours would start. The easiest way to remember this is 2 full business days. I have 2 full business days, not including weekends or holidays, to get my locating done. Last one there is to know your holidays. These are listed online and in the North Dakota One Call Handbook. The reason I bring this up is because we have a lot of people that ask the question, when did you add a 3rd day to the locate period? We didn't add extra days. It's just that some holidays that people might not get off from work are in or are listed as North Dakota One Call holidays. We follow the state of North Dakota holidays. So some of those that are less known by some people are listed as holidays and will add an extra day to your excavation project. How much work can go on a ticket? Previously in North Dakota, we had no limit of how much work could go on a ticket. We've seen locate requests come through that were 20 to 25 miles long. In August of 2017, when that law passed, they did put a limit on how much work could go on a ticket. Inside city limits or in an urban area, it's 3 contiguous city blocks. What the North Dakota One Call Board has determined that to be is 1,000 feet, no more than 1,000 feet on a locate request. In a rural area, it's 4 contiguous quarter sections. So 4 quarter sections are 1 entire section in area, or 5 linear miles. Now, what does all this mean if somebody is violating part of the law, whether it's the new laws or anything we've talked about previously, or for that matter, anything else in the Century Code? Again, I said that North Dakota One Call is not the locate police. We do not go around, make sure people have locate requests. We don't enforce the law. We promote the law, we do education opportunities, but we do not enforce the law. However, in North Dakota, it's the North Dakota Public Service Commission who does enforce the law. We are a complaint-driven system, so you will have to file a complaint if it's an excavator having a problem with the utility or utility having a problem with an excavator. This can easily be done through the North Dakota One Call website. You simply click on File Complaint. It will then bring you up to a page that will answer some questions about how the complaint process works. Each complaint can garner a fine up to $25,000. This does go to the PSC. All parties that are listed on the complaint form are contacted. You can add pictures to these, but you submit that information to the Public Service Commission. They then do an investigation internally and determine who's at fault or if a law was broken from there. It is a very easy process to do. We suggest people do it because the only way we know if there's problems in North Dakota is if complaints are filed and the PSC is made aware of issues or of problems going on in the state. The one problem with the complaint system is that it is not a fast process. If you are an excavator having a problem with a utility or a utility with an excavator and you need it resolved tomorrow or by the end of the week, this is not going to do that for you. This is typically a 2 to 4 month process from when the complaint is filed until a fine is issued. So before I get into some changes to our online ticketing system and how to use it, the different products that are used or offered in North Dakota can be a little confusing. So to cover those, we have what we call iSight. iSight is one home for all products in North Dakota. We then have ITIC Next. ITIC Next is the new online ticket submitting website that you use to process your locate requests online. What we call ETM or Excavator Ticket Management is something that you as the excavator can use to manage all of the locate requests that you or people from your company file for your excavation projects. IMAP is an online database that we have for underground facility holders to submit their underground facility data. LTM or Locator Ticket Management is what facility owners can use to manage their tickets that they receive, their excavation requests that they receive, and status their locate request. Ticket check is used for positive response only, so if there are locators set up that don't need full access to LTM, they can use ticket check to provide statuses only. And then search and status you can find through the North Dakota One Call website. It is used to find any and all tickets filed anywhere in North Dakota. A very handy site if you're looking for certain tickets in a specific area. Over the past 7 years, you can search anything. We're required to keep that information for 7 years, so you can find any and all ticket information in North Dakota within the last 7 years. So as I mentioned, ITIC Next is our new online ticket submission process. It's an upgrade from the previous system, which we called 2.0, ITIC 2.0. That excavator ticket management that I mentioned on the previous slide is built right into the new system. I've talked to a few excavators who file many locate requests, and they have a sheet of paper or an Excel spreadsheet that they try and keep track of their locate requests on. ETM, or excavator ticket management, is very handy because it keeps track of all of your tickets that you filed as an excavator, and it's built right into the system. Can be used in multiple states, so if you're an excavator that does work in Minnesota or Montana, you can have your ITIC system set up, or your ITIC account set up to be used not only in North Dakota but also Minnesota, Montana. When those states get the new system, you can use it in multiple states through one login. It does revolve around some mapping tools. That is a concern with some people, having to use a map. They say they don't know much about mapping. If you've ever done any kind of Google Maps, searching on Google Maps, or navigating on Google Maps, it is very similar to that. Very easy to use. The nice thing about the new system is automated marking instructions and driving directions. We build the marking instructions and driving directions for you with the new system. You tell us where you're digging, we build everything else for you, as you'll see here in a minute. The other nice thing is it splits your tickets up for you based on the rules that we have here in North Dakota. As I mentioned before, you are limited to how much work you can put on each ticket. Say, for this example, 5 miles, 5 linear miles. You can go into the new system, draw in 10 miles, and the system will split it up for you based on the 5-mile limitation that we have built into the system. You are also able to save your tickets to release them later. So if I have work that I know is taking place towards the end of the month and I'm at the beginning of the month, I can go in, draw in all of my stuff, have the system do my marking instructions and driving directions, and then save those tickets and set a reminder so I can come back at a later date to release those tickets. This is what the new system looks like. If you've used the previous version of ITIC, you will notice right away that it does look completely different from what the previous system looks like. Right away on the left-hand side, you'll see My Tickets, which is essentially your home screen to get back to where it shows you all of your tickets as an excavator. Underneath that, for the time being, we do have Legacy Application. The Legacy Application is going to allow you to use the previous version of ITIC, if that's what you prefer to use, for a short period of time. We do not know yet how long that will be in there, so it will eventually be going away. As you can see there, it shows me the state of North Dakota. If you have multiple states under your login or under your user, that is where you can switch from North Dakota to Minnesota or Montana or any other state that uses the ITIC Next program. If you are ready to create a job ticket, on the top right hand side, you'll simply click Create a Job Ticket. But before we move on, you'll see on the bottom left hand side of the screen all the blue ticket numbers that are listed. That is going to show any tickets that you've filed as an excavator, where you can then go into that ticket and perform different functions. Now, by clicking on Create a Job Ticket, so here I just drew in a long route one route in North Dakota. I drew in there. I think it was about 7 miles long, 6 or 7 miles long. And there you can see it created job A and job B. It did split that ticket up for me into 2 separate locate requests, not going over the 5-mile maximum requirement. On that left-hand side, you can see where it pulls all of the automated information. It did pull the city or township, the county, the nearest street, intersecting street, if I was inside or outside city limits, and that location of work. The location of work is what includes the marking instructions and driving directions for my locate requests. If I have any additional information that I want to list, a well site name, a certain road that I know is out there somebody's going to have to cross, I'm going to want to put that in the additional information field. Once I get to the final page here, I can choose what I want to do with those tickets. Whether I have 2 tickets like I have here in front of me, or I have 10 tickets from 10 different excavation entities that I've drawn on the map. I can decide to do a couple different things. I can either go back and edit those tickets, I can submit those tickets, or, as I mentioned earlier, I can save those locate requests as well. If I click on save from those locate requests, it will ask me if I want to set a reminder date or not. You don't have to, but then it will keep them in my unsubmitted or unreleased tickets out on the main page. Once I submit them, I am greeted by ticket numbers for those tickets that I've placed. Now, one other thing that I wanted to mention is on your search bar on the main page, when I'm greeted with the state of North Dakota, it's going to ask me if I want to search by a place or address. I can go or locate by, and I've got different options. I can use advanced street, coordinate, or grid. Grid is going to be your township range or section quarter. But the previous ticket is a helpful feature for those people that have been wanting North Dakota to adopt some sort of piggybacking function. We don't allow piggybacking in North Dakota, but using a previous ticket search is going to be the closest we can get you. By clicking on previous ticket, it's going to pull up a window where it's going to ask me to put in the ticket number that I want to search by. I then search via that ticket number that I've put in. It will pull up a purple box or a polygon that was drawn, depending on what tool it was drawn with, but it will pull up a box and show me exactly what was drawn for that locate request. I can then use the drawing tool to create my own locate request over the top of the previous ticket polygon that's on the screen in front of me. That was a very high-level overview of the ITIC Next system. If you go on the North Dakota One Call website, we have an interactive training that's available to everybody that'll give you a better in-depth knowledge of how to use the ITIC Next system. You can also contact myself, Ryan Schmaltz, to go over any training or set up a webinar to get information on the new ITIC system. The North Dakota One Call website is a great place to get additional information after this presentation. You can do things like log into ITIC, get signed up for an ITIC account, find any information that we covered here, or even see any upcoming news or events that we have going on with North Dakota One Call. You'll also get access to the North Dakota One Call handbook, which is viewed in front of you. That has some question and answer about North Dakota One Call, and also has the actual North Dakota One Call law listed in the back of the handbook. If you do have any additional questions after this training, you can reach out to me. My contact information is listed on the One Call website, or in front of you is my phone number and my email address. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about anything we covered or anything related to North Dakota One Call. That concludes the presentation. Again, feel free to reach out to us with any questions, and everybody stay safe while excavating. Thank you.